Want to understand the changing world?
We break down all the big global shifts.
Follow us and never miss an update.
Hit that follow button right now.
It's 08:34 local time, 75 nautical miles west of Palawan. The Philippine Navy frigate BRP Miguel Malvar is on a routine sovereignty patrol. A Chinese corvette closes in for 40 minutes, eventually locking its fire control radar onto the Malvar. In naval combat, this is the electronic equivalent of cocking a loaded gun and pointing it at someone's chest. The Filipino captain has 40 seconds to decide how to respond before a potential missile launch. His weapon systems are worn and ready, but if he pulls the trigger in self-defense, he risks a shooting war with a superpower. If he does nothing, he risks the immediate destruction of his ship and crew. The captain holds his fire and issues a radio challenge. The Chinese ship eventually breaks off. This encounter is a textbook example of a gray zone tactic, a calculated effort to achieve military goals by trying to force the opponent to be the one who shoots first. This interaction happened in the South China Sea, a waterway that serves as a primary artery for global commerce. More than $5 trillion in goods, nearly a quarter of all global maritime trade, pass through these waters every year. This map shows the 9-dash line, China's claim to nearly 80% of the sea. It stretches thousands of miles from the Chinese coast and directly overlaps with the internationally recognized territorial waters of the Philippines. A 2016 international tribunal legally invalidated these claims, but the Chinese military has continued to expand its presence regardless. This creates a maritime intersection where high-speed international trade routes and military red lines are in constant physical friction. One of the most tense points of friction is the Second Thomas Shoal. Here, the BRP Sierra Madre, a rusted World War II-era ship, serves as a fragile Philippine military detachment. It was intentionally run aground decades ago to stake a claim on the reef. Beijing uses a strategy of calibrated coercion to seize this territory. They maintain a permanent blockade around the shoal, attempting to block structural repairs and food deliveries to the Filipino troops, without using the lethal munitions that would trigger a full-scale war. This blockade is enforced through gray zone weapons. Chinese ships have swarmed Philippine supply missions, used military-grade lasers to temporarily blind crews, and deployed high-pressure water cannons to physically batter the smaller Philippine vessels. By systematically restricting food, water, and building supplies, Beijing forces Manila to choose between a withdrawal or an escalation that could lead to open conflict. In response, President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. has pivoted to a counter-strategy: assertive transparency. The Philippines now embeds civilian journalists on resupply missions. When Chinese vessels ram ships or deploy water cannons, high-definition footage is captured and immediately broadcast to a global audience. The goal is to dismantle Beijing's narrative of a peaceful rise and publicly shame the Chinese Coast Guard into sobriety, while simultaneously rallying international allies. While this transparency has earned Manila international support, it does not physically stop the harassment. Chinese ships continue to ram Filipino boats and injure sailors, pushing the limits of what a nation can endure before responding with force. The backstop keeping the Philippines in the fight is a 1951 mutual defense treaty with the United States. Washington recently clarified the treaty to address gray zone tactics directly. U.S. officials explicitly stated that any armed attack on a Philippine vessel, specifically including Coast Guard ships, will trigger U.S. military intervention. This guarantee has unified other regional powers. During the Balik-Katon exercises, Australia, Japan, and the U.S. have deepened military cooperation with Manila, forming a multinational front designed to deter further Chinese incursions. By drawing this red line, Washington has accepted a massive risk. Any small skirmish at a remote reef could now lead to a direct military confrontation between the world's two largest navies. The economic fallout is already visible. This chart shows the Baltic Dry Index, an indicator of shipping costs. The data points show sharp spikes correlating directly with major incidents at the shoals, as maritime uncertainty ripples through the world's supply chains. The current trajectory points toward a volatile conclusion. Either the Philippines is exhausted into a withdrawal, or a physical confrontation on the water crosses the American red line. These diplomatic boundaries are being eroded millimeter by millimeter. A single miscalculation with a water cannon or a collision now carries the weight of a potential shooting war between two nuclear powers.